movie notes on Dunkirk, 2017 film, 13 July 2024 viewing. This is my viewing for today, Saturday, 13 July 2024. I just finished viewing it. I'm Tannis Corley, Leonardo, she, her, hers of Seattle. And what notes do I have? Well, for starters, Dunkirk is the name of a city in France. So, as of July 2024, and not quite halfway through July 2024, I thought this was fitting for sporting events that are being held there this month. So I was like, gotta do a film set in France, you know? Pay homage to the country that way. So here we go. And let's see, for the description of the movie for this viewing, I said, this is a biographical film about the removal of soldiers from a beach in Dunkirk, France during World War II by a fleet of civilian marine vessels. Yes. There is Tom Hardy. He was a fighter pilot. He gets captured at the end. I was like, there goes the Hardy. I'm a Leonardi. We all die. Okay. Well, doesn't all human, each human, okay. And then, let's see, there's a French guy in the boat in a boat that fills with water and then dies. Who's like, I consider to be killed by the Zayn Malik character. You know, like the guy in the movie from One Direction. What was his name? Zayn Malik. And then there's like a kid that gets killed by an angry person. Let's see, what was his name? Nicholas Hoult. Yeah. So I like Tom Hardy in this one, but then I'm biased because my grandpa Roger was a fighter pilot in the United States of America Navy, not fighting, removing soldiers from, or assisting in the removal of soldiers from France. Wrong continent. He was actually stationed in Asia, Japan, and other places as well. But yeah, I would say as a general note about the movie, there is excessive music. This is like, I've watched this before, and it's one of those movies that's like an hour and 46 minutes long, something like that. It feels like it's 3 hours, like 3.5 hours, and like, okay, there's excessive music in when I watched this last time, I watched it this time. It's like 2001: A Space Odyssey. There's Odyssey. There's like Odyssey. There's like very few words and a bunch of music, and it's just like, okay. So there we go. As a general note on actual viewing for this particular one, which is my way of saying there's not necessarily like, it's not a very content rich movie. It's a very visual rich movie, or graphic heavy movie without much story. I'm not that. That's not my taste in movies. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars last time. I still think that's a generous rating, but I'm not changing it. I watched part of the movie without my glasses on, without wearing my glasses. So watch like this. I took my glasses off and put them down on the desk and watched. And while I was viewing it, I was thinking about sailing. So I brought up on this channel me, Tannis Corley, Leonardo, she, her, hers of Seattle, sailing the Atlantic Ocean, Europe to North America, with Timber the Gray Squirrel. Get her in a little rucksack that I can strap over my chest. You know, I have a little hole for her head to poke out, little holes for her arms and her legs to poke out. That way, if I'm climbing the rat lines on this wooden ship I'm sailing across the ocean, she can watch. Okay, so she broke through in her timber spirit while watching this, and she said she wants to make it clear that she wants to be taken out of the bag sometimes and put on the deck, and she wants to patrol the outside of the ship deck looking for visitors over the water from the spirit world. She looks out over the water and goes, "Mom, there are spirit porcupines over the water." Right, I need to be ready for that. And then we also have, this one's from Mbappe. He's like, I'm a timber father as well. We have 1 barrel of water on the ship, the wooden ship, for timber baths. So this is where I rub the fresh water into her fur to cool her down when it gets hot. Mbappe likes this one. Mbappe goes yes. Okay. On a more serious note, World War II was between... Let's do a different approach. World War II was instigated for different reasons for different countries at different points in time. It was very different than World War I in that sense, because it was like, to bring up a sports analogy, I'm not going to put this as an athletic performance contextualization, but there's, everybody can start on the start line, and then there's like a staggered start. World War II was a staggered start. Not everybody entered the war at the same time. Okay. World War I was like, some Russian royal got killed, right? And everybody was like, no! And so there we go. Right, so... which was like a weird one, World War I, because what, the Russians were attacked and the royalty was attacked, but then it wasn't, but Russia was like, we don't want the help, and the world was like, but we're gonna help, and it was like, you can't just be killing royalty and not expect to pay for it, or whatever, you know, what we learned in school. And I was like, hey, do you know how I feel about that? But then, you know, not now the upper class of the world, the privileged people of the world hates Russia, but the rest of us are like, still love Russia. That's my family. Right, so there we go. So it was a bit, but it was like a very punctuated start for World War I, and World War II was a staggered start. And you could think of like, some of these were like, you know, battles that were like, or evacuations or whatever, that were kind of like the war, the battles that were fought that kind of had the meaning of the war as ending, right? This was like one for some people. So that's what I'm trying to get at with this. It's like the meaning behind some of them. And then I was like, okay, modern day, thinking forward, World War III and Olympic Games, because I brought up France, right? This is a timely pick for the Dunkirk, city of Dunkirk, France. Olympic Games trying to start World War III with an axis of allies, just 3, okay? United States of America, Ukraine, and Greece, instead of an axis of evil. If Sweden is selected for host of the 2030 Winter Olympic Games, the Olympic Games will commence the escalation of its attempted genocide of Russians to include other Scandinavians, including Swedes, including at least attempting to remove the blue and yellow of Sweden from the country. Demoted. The International Olympic Committee is being demoted to an organized crime organization. Dun, dun, dun. Every Olympic Games comes with cinema that inspires us to think through what's actually going on in the world these days. So there we go. So my movie notes on Dunkirk 2017 film, 13 July 2024. Viewing anything else while I was watching the movie, I decided to go out, and I had some peanuts left over from critter dinner, and I put them out, and there was a bunny out there. And it's the second time this has happened recently, where I put out, the bunny is really forward, and I hold out a little nut for it, and it plucks the nut from my fingers with its teeth, with its mouth. Like I'm feeding a wild bunny with my fingers. So that happened, and then it was coming back for, or it was coming in for a nut, and it even let me put my finger on its forehead and its nose. That's very cool. So there we go. It's a tidbit, was part of the beginning to end, right? It was before the end and after the beginning, staggered, you know, like World War II. So there we go.